In this fourth and final session with Jeffery Deskovich, our distinguished guest, we talk about his Deskovich Foundation, which he's managed to get up and running. We talk about his being thrown under the bus by inmates that he's gotten out of prison for crimes that they commit. We talk about the numerous speaking engagements and venues that he's been to promote himself and his cause. But the most fascinating thing about this final session is one particular inmate that he spoke up and assisted. An inmate that he really didn't have to help at all. And it was this particular inmate that he helped, which highlighted his sterling integrity and his ability to rise to the occasion. So this is Perry L. Duff coming at you live from the Hustler's Corner saying thank you so much for joining us today. As always, leave a comment, share, hit that like button, and most of all, subscribe. Thank you and enjoy the show.
Tell us a little bit how you helped others as an attorney and what you did for them. If at any time you felt you were helping them, you may have been wasting your time.
We've helped free seven. We've gotten 7 people home. That was before I went. That was before I went to law school. So that would have been before that. All right. So so I remember William Lopez's case. I mean, his case really leapt off the pages because the initial reports was that it was a couple of dark-skinned Panamanians, 6'2", 6'3", and Lopez was a 5'7", light-skinned Puerto Rican, and it was estimated to be 100 pounds more than what Lopez was. So, plus his attorneys talked him out of calling his alibis at the trial. So, all that was pretty clear to us that he was innocent. From there, we did some investigative work. We joined his pre-existing legal team that had had his case for about 9 years, and we did some investigative work, and we tracked down a witness who was in Dominican Republic who had been deported, who was present at the time that the crime happened, and so he testified electronically in the federal court at the evidentiary hearing, and the conviction was overturned. So that was an example of a time that we got somebody out. But that was before I graduated law school, passed the bar, and this other test. Right, just so we're clear. But there have been other cases that we dropped. There was a time when we were looking at ironically, it was a correction officer case. She was saying that she heard people break in the house, and so she jumped in the toy box, right, out of fear, and at some point she passed out. We initially looked at her case, we did some work on it, but we wound up dropping it because when we interviewed her, and she was interviewed in person, she had said that, just the fear and drama of the moment led her to pass out, and that just didn't make any sense because you're supposed to be running towards danger. So I can't believe that. I can't. Drop that one. That was an example of one we dropped, and there was another time when somebody claimed that they had this alibi witness that had recently come forward, and when we spoke to the alibi witness, the alibi told us, "Look, I didn't see what he's saying that I saw. He's trying to press me to say something that's not true." So we dropped that case. There's and other cases don't even make it to that point. I mean, we have a screening process. We also have other cases that we did take and that we did win. I mean, one of the cases that's active now, Krivak, Andrew Krivak. So in that one, the conviction was overturned. The same polygraphist that forced the confession out of me forced the confession out of him. There's a ton of evidence that a serial rapist whose MO is the same as how the victim was found in his case. There's been a ton of evidence that have been developed about that, and he confessed to a prisoner as well. And his co-defendant is home, Anthony DePippo, he's home. He's been compensated by the state. He's on the verge of settling his civil suit. So one man's out and another man's in, and they're alleged to have committed the crime together. That doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
So that's one that, again, the conviction's overturned, but the Putnam County District Attorney, they don't want to acknowledge that they made a mistake, and so they're appealing the reversal, and he's been denied bail, so he's remained in jail now for it's been about 5 or 6 months while the appeal continues.
Let me ask you this. Have there been cases of people that you have gotten out of jail, that you've gotten exonerated, people that you have proven their innocence and gotten them out of jail, that you later on regretted doing that?
No, I have not. Now,
Okay.
I felt disappointed because I wanted the people to play an active role in assisting me in what I'm doing by, maximizing the media interviews that they do, come with me when I go to Albany and I meet with the elected officials there and we're trying to get changes. It'd be much better if I have you with me and I can point to your case instead of giving a verbal rendition. And I've had people not agree to do that.
So once they got out, they threw
Yes.
you under the bus.
Yeah, and of course the excuse given is well, I want to spend time with my family, and but and then also, well, my lawsuit. And I'm like, I did a ton of media interviews. I don't think there's anybody that's ever did more than I did, and I won my lawsuit. So if that was the case, I would have lost as much interviews as I did. So it's just an excuse. I see through it, but what can I do? They did throw me under the bus, but do I wish I would have just left them in there? No, I can't. That would be a brutal thing to say.
You come later to realize that you've helped these people out, and they definitely needed your help. But for them to throw you under the bus after you've helped them, you don't in any way feel or regret helping them and feeling that you would have, if you had another chance, you would have left them there?
No. Listen, did it hurt me? Yeah, of course it did. Of course it hurt me. Does it disappoint me? Yes. Does it frustrate me? Yes. Does it even make me angry? Yeah, of course. But I don't go beyond that and say, I wish I would have left you there and found somebody else, because at the end of the day, if someone's wrongfully imprisoned, that's wrong. They're entitled to their freedom. I just wish they would make better choices after the fact. Let me tell you a quick story. Dehumanization is not an option. All right, that's the theme. So I'm in court. I'm in federal court, and I'm about 5 feet away from the actual criminal because my lawyer called him as a witness to give a deposition. We're about to break for lunch, right? And so one of my lawyers, I'm not going to say who, elbows me and says, "Hey, Jeff, they're gonna burn him." And so I said, "Well, what do you mean they're gonna burn? Yeah, he's not gonna eat. They're not gonna feed him, right?" And they're laughing. He's laughing about it and everything. And I said, "No." And then he says, "Well, what do you care? He's a piece of crap. He killed 2 people. He was content to leave you in prison while you're doing time for his crime. What are you sticking up for him? Why do you care?" And I insisted. I said, "No, he's going to eat. Matter of fact, you're going to ask him if he eats. You're going to ask when we come back from lunch if he eats."
Wait a minute. The guy that was
Yes.
the one who did the murders that you went to jail for?
Yes, I told my lawyer, I said, "No, he's going to eat, and he's going to whatever he's entitled to." That's why he's incarcerated. That's why he's got the loss of his freedom. That's why he's been sentenced. That's his punishment, is not to be mistreated while he's there. So I insisted that that my lawyer make sure that he ate and he had lunch, man. And that's what happened. I feel good about myself that I did that in that moment.
That's good. That's good. Because I hear a lot of times these inmates can be mistreated because of the crime, but they still human beings. Now, I want to ask you, Mr. Jeffrey. Okay, I'm against the death penalty. How do you feel about that?
No, I'm against the death penalty also for a number of reasons. Maybe the biggest reason is the death penalty risks the execution of innocent people. My appeals were over after 11 years, and I wasn't exonerated until 16 years. So I would have been dead. That's what happens in these death penalty cases. When the appeals are over, they execute. So that's another thing. But a third thing is, it wastes a lot of resources. So in New York, from 95 to 2004, we had the death penalty. $200 million was spent on that, and nobody was executed. So, I think the money could have went better for social programs, crime prevention, law enforcement.
Mhm.
I think from a moral point of view, I think it lowers us as a society down to the level of the murderer. I think killing people who kill in order to show that killing is wrong, I think that's circular, and it feels too much to me like mob justice rather than rule of law. But I also find that there's a lot of murder victim family members, and they find it harder to heal with the increased sensationalism around the death penalty case, the extra publicity that happens. For all those reasons, I don't support the death penalty.
In these cases of these exonerees that's thrown you under the bus, you maintained a higher level of professionalism. You saw it you see this whole thing for what it really is. Not just about exonerating people for crimes they didn't commit. It's about the correcting of this entire system.
Yes.
And its corrupt ways, exposing and correcting and prosecuting the corruption in this entire system. The whole system is rotten to the core. And when I see, people doing things like you've done, taking the high road, in spite of the fact that the people that you help exonerated, throwing you under the bus, I have to give you big time kudos. You need a lot more people like you out there, bro. I gotta ask you this. Do you know other people that you think would be a fit to come on this show and explain their stories like you have?
100%. Yeah, many. Listen, I have enough content. I have enough content as far as that to keep you going for 20 years, man.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then there's people, and it seems, the more, and this is why I'm really happy to do this podcast with you and get the story out there, because, it seems like every 3 or 4 days there's somebody new being exonerated, somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that that's because of a number of things. Firstly, there's more innocence organizations cropping up. There's more individual lawyers who learn about this problem and they take the problem on, even if it's just doing one case pro bono, wrongful conviction wise. And I think another thing is that each person that makes it out, it makes it a little bit easier for the next person, because half of the fight is whether or not the judges are going to objectively consider the facts and the law in your case. A lot of times they don't. Their reflex is to just deny. It's not. That's why most of the time when people are exonerated, it's typical that their appeals have long since been exhausted. Average length of wrongful imprisonment is 14 years in the DNA cases. That because the courts are not good at that, but I think that the awareness reaches the judges as well. The existence of the emergence of the conviction review units within the DA's office, where they're proactively looking for cases. Certain places where it's real. At Philadelphia, they're up to like 13, 14 exonerations now in a year and a half through their conviction review unit. When Ken Thompson was alive, 23 people were exonerated in 2.5 years. When Craig Watkins was in office in Dallas, more than 40 people were exonerated. So I think the awareness is reaching all these levels, and it's having some positive impact. Now, there's still a lot of conviction review units that are just window dressing. They're not legit. There's still far too many judges, just rubber stamp denying credible claims. So I'm not saying that we're there yet. I'm just saying that I believe that we are going in the right direction. We're getting there too slow for my taste. I want everything yesterday because I feel an urgency of, correcting these injustices, but we are going in the right direction.
Let me ask you this. Do you at any time feel that this direction that you're going into exposes more and more and more of the corruption of this system?
Yeah, of course.
And do you at any time feel that this exposing it would at any time put your life in jeopardy in any way?
Yeah, I've thought about that before. Sure, of course, it's crossed my mind. I mean, look, I don't think it's a high percentage, but does a thought cross my mind, and is it possible? Yeah, it's possible. But you know what? If it costs me my life, that's what I'm gonna do, man. I would rather just stand firm. I'll be the majority of one. I'm gonna do my best, and if it costs me the ultimate sacrifice, well, there's a lot of people before me that it cost. Maybe not on this issue specifically, but on civil rights. And if no one, if you don't stand for something, we're going to fall for everything. So
That's right.
That's
I'm
true.
Right.
stand up and take my chances. That being
Okay.
said, I've gotten some warm welcome in unusual quarters. I mean, for the last 5 years, twice a year, I go to the police academy in New Jersey, the ethics portion of the training for the new cadets. So I'm one of the 2 instructors for that. I've been in front of 5 different groups of judges. They've asked me to speak about different wrongful conviction topics. So I'm welcome there. And I have spoken in front of a few different district attorney organizations. So I've gotten, they get that, it's about accuracy and justice, not anti-cop, anti-prosecutor. It's only against the people that are breaking rules and breaking ethics and going against the Constitution. That's who I'm opposed to. But if you're doing the right thing, I got no issues. So I know that at least some portion of those populations like what I'm doing. Is there a lot more that don't? Yeah, of course there is. Of course there is. But I have to tell my truth. I have to stand up, and I have to do my part. And whatever.
The thing is that we would look. One of the things is to become a podcast that helps to be part of a mold that molds people like you into a national movement.
Yeah.
Movement that really sweeps across this country and exposes corruption at every level. Now, I want to, just before you go, I want to ask you this. Would you be willing to help other members or other guests that we know that could use your help?
You mean as far as what, some coming on the show, you mean, or just narrow, what are your...
We also interview people right from behind bars. They talk to us from behind bars and on smartphones. Like we have one guy, his name is James Ellis. He's in Ohio, and he's behind bars for a crime he didn't commit. And he's looking for somebody to represent him and help him in his case. Would you be interested in helping him in his situation?
All right, well, the situation is that, so firstly, I'm in the process of trying to raise money for my organization. So, I gave us a running start using some of the money that I won. But frankly, our fundraiser didn't go well. And at some point I had to fire the employees and replace them with volunteers and some lawyers that are willing to work pro bono. That having been said, what I want to do is I want to, again, be able to have in-house employees. So, I need to raise funds to do that. But also, we've only been able to do cases in New York. Moving into other states is something that I would like to do in the future, but that's going to come as the public support comes. We do have a crowdfunding site where we're trying to do that on Patreon. People can Google Patreon, Deskovich Foundation. We're there. I could give people tips and advice. Could we give them direct representation? Not at this time, and in the future. As we get the public support to do that, that could be, look, my ultimate goal is to have a chapter in each state and ultimately in each country, because I see this as a worldwide problem.
Okay.
So I do want to mention that in terms of reintegrating, I want to briefly mention that actually a couple quick things. I'll be fast, but so if people are into virtual reality, so the first episode of my story is available now on the website Oculus. It's called Once Upon a Time in Peekskill.
Please send us the link to that.
I definitely will. There's also a game I'm a co-owner of called Recharge Beyond the Bars Reentry game with Leslie Robinson, and it helps formerly incarcerated people, whether guilty or not. It just helps people reintegrate by having icebreaker type questions that facilitates formerly incarcerated people with reconnecting with friends, family, new friends. So I do want to mention those things.
Okay. All right. Then in that case, we would
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Wow.
Us away. I'm impressed, bro. I got to give you kudos, man. I've got to give you kudos, bro. That is
Thank you so much,
man. We had on the Hustler's Corner podcast so far.
This concludes this session of the Hustler's Corner, New York City. If you are a person that's incarcerated and you have books that you'd like to get out and you want to share your story, come share your story on the Hustler's Corner, New York City, Tales from the Big Cities. If you are a person who has been wrongfully convicted of a crime that you did not commit and you want to share your story, come share your story on the Hustler's Corner New York City Victims of the System series. If you are a person who has been self-reformed, active in the community, came out of a past nefarious life to a more positive one, and you want to share your story, come share your story on the Hustler's Corner New York City Legends of the Hood series. If you are a Black business owner and you want to share your story of how you got your business off the ground and how you faced many challenges to succeed, come share your story on the Hustler's Corner New York City Black Business Movement series. If you are a musician or an artist or a vocalist or a rapper, hip hop artist, and you want to share your story about your career and how you have grown it into success, come share your story on the Hustler's Corner New York City On the Grind series. And if you are a woman who has been through traumatic times in her life only to overcome them, come share your story on the Hustler's Corner New York City Lipstick Stories series. And if you're enjoying this show, please help us grow. Show your love. Like, share, leave a comment, and most of all, subscribe. Thank you for joining us. Looking forward to seeing you again. This is Perry L. Duff from the Hustler's Corner New York City.